special to Santa Claus, just like sprinkles. Get on Santa's nice list at SantaClausSays.net and watch Santa Claus Says live on YouTube. Tell him Sprinkles sent you. Hi there, I'm Sprinkles, Santa Claus's special elf, because everything is special with sprinkles. Santa Claus knows you're special too, and he has something to say to you. So listen close as Santa Claus shares holiday cheer with you. You can leave a special message for Santa Claus and get on the nice list at www.santaclaussays.net. Now here is the big man himself, Santa Claus!
Ho, 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 ho! Merry Christmas to one and all the boys and girls of the world who come to Santa Claus Says here today as we get closer and closer to Christmas. It's just a few weeks away. And Santa Claus says, be good for goodness sakes. Thank you for joining me here on SantaClausSays.net. This is the show on podcast and on YouTube where we offer you three things. We offer you a bit of Christmas cheer, and certainly our elf sprinkles helps us with that. And we also like to tell some good old-fashioned Santa Claus and Christmas jokes. We also share a wonderful Christmas story with you, and our story today is called Buttons and Boots. And then we also share a letter or a voicemail to Santa. That's what we do here. You can always check us out. You can always go to SantaClausSays.net, and that is the place to leave me a voicemail or an email or a text, and I'll be in touch with you as well. Well, boys and girls, that is our time for some Christmas cheer. That's our glockenspiel is what that is. And what that sound means is it's time for a joke from Santa. When Santa doesn't want to do something, what does he say? No thanks. What's the difference between a knight and Santa Claus? One slays a dragon, the other drags a sleigh. Well, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. If you've got a good joke for Santa to tell here on SantaClausSays.net about Christmas or Santa Claus or reindeer or about gifts or something good, you can send it to me as well at SantaClausSays.net. Well, there's our glockenspiel, boys and girls, which means it's time for our story. And today's story is called Buttons and Boots. And this is the first part of a couple-part series. So you can always hear our other stories we've told going to back episodes of SantaClausSays.net on the podcast, on Apple Podcast, and on the YouTube channel, which is at youtube.com/SantaClausSays. Today's story is called Buttons and Boots, and it starts like this, and it's a couple parts, so you want to tune in again tomorrow for the rest of it. Here's how it goes. It was the middle of the night. All the elves and Santa Claus too were fast asleep in their beds at the Snow Palace at the very tippy top of the North Pole. It was cold. It was a frosty night. "Oh," sang the west wind round the chimneys in such a chilly voice with a tinkle of ice in it that the elves snuggled down in their covers and pulled the bed quilts up about their ears. All the elves were fast asleep, I said, but as the great clock in the hall downstairs slowly boomed out the hour of 12, Elf Fleetfoot opened his bright black eyes. "Ugh, how cold it is," shivered Elf Fleetfoot, trying to roll himself into a ball. If it wasn't so cold when I went to bed, I wonder what the moon is laughing what that moon is laughing up at there in the sky. He likes to see me freeze, I guess. For a great silver moon with a broad smile on his face was looking straight in the window at Fleetfoot, and it did seem as if he were laughing at some joke of his own. I will shut my eyes and count to 10, said Fleetfoot to himself. Then I will look at the moon again and see if he is still laughing at me. He shook his black eyes with a snap, and slowly he counted to 10. But when he opened his eyes again, he forgot the moon entirely. For beside his bed stood a little figure dressed in snowy white. He wore a glittering cap trimmed with a frosty plume, and over his shoulder he carried a paintbrush, long and slim. Jack Frost! Exclaimed Fleetfoot, sitting up in surprise. Jack Frost, what are you doing here? No wonder I was so cold with you standing up beside my bed. That is why the moon laughed in at me, it's suppose. He saw you the whole while. Yes, he did, nodded Jack Frost, unbuttoning his snowy white coat. How warm it is in here. He watched me slip through the crack of the window. It made him laugh too because I've been tickling you with an icicle, trying to wake you up. Get dressed, Fleetfoot, and come along with me. I have a piece of work for you to do. Jack Frost and Santa Claus and the elves were old friends. Jack Frost was always glad to do Santa Claus a good turn, such as making Christmas Day bright and cold with plenty of snow and ice for the boys and girls with new snowshoes and sleds and skates. On the other hand, and as everyone knows, all elves, and of course Santa Claus's elves too, are never so happy as when they're being helpful and kind. These elves at the North Pole are quite used to being called upon day or night to do some kind or thoughtful act. Fleetfoot was not surprised, therefore, when he heard that Jack Frost had a piece of work for him to do. He dressed in a twinkling. It took him only a moment to slip into his neat little suit, draw on his pointed elf shoes, and put on his scarlet cap well down over his ears. I am ready, he whispered, creeping over to the door, but Jack Frost laid a chilly little hand on his arm. Bring a bell with you, he murmured, in Jack Frost in the brownie's ear. You will need it to use as a bell tonight. A bell? Whispered back Fleetfoot. What kind of a bell? A dinner bell? A bicycle bell? No, answered Jack Frost, his fingers on his lips. A cat's bell. Hush. For Elf Mischief had flung out his arms and tossed his quilt off on the floor, and Sharp Eyes had turned it over with a long, long sigh. Fleetfoot crept on tiptoe into the workroom and without a sound untied a silver bell from the neck of a drowsy white fur cat. Then he and Jack Frost stole downstairs and out of the house without being seen by a single person, except for the friendly moon, who not only smiled as he watched them, but followed them on their journey all the way. We're going to hit the pause on this story there right now, boys and girls. We're going to pick up on the story again when we come back tomorrow. So it's so important that you join us on the next episode of Santa Claus Says as we continue our story called Buttons and Bows. That's what we do here. We love to have Christmas cheer, and we love to tell a story. And there's the glockenspiel, which means it's now time for our letter to Santa. A reminder that everybody can send a letter to Santa by going to SantaClausSays.net. That's where you can leave me a email, or you can leave me a voicemail, or you can leave me a text, and I will get those and I will answer you. Today's text comes from Chase, and Chase says that he's a 7-year-old boy and he wants a new tablet for Christmas so he can do his schoolwork. And he also would like a karate keychain, as he's a brown belt. And then he says, thank you to Santa Claus. He says, thank you. Well, a couple wonderful things there about Chase. So important to do your schoolwork, Chase. Keep up the good work in school, and hopefully a tablet will help you do just that, to do your good work. I know Santa uses a tablet and computers to help me do the work I do, because I have a long list of the nice girls and boys in the world and a short list of the naughty girls and boys. But it's all a part of you being on the good list, Chase, which you are. And I like the fact you're doing karate. Keep your body strong. That's good. And you want a karate keychain. and you're a brown belt. How wonderful is that? So thank you for writing us a letter here, Chase, and we appreciate it so much. Remember, all of you can send me a letter or a suggestion or a joke or something other funny, maybe something nice that you've done to SantaClausSays.net, and that's where you can find me. You can get send me an email or a text, just like Chase did, or even a voicemail. And who knows, if you send me a voicemail, maybe I'll even play it here on the show at SantaClausSays.net. Now, just a couple reminders. We're here every night about 8:30 to 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time live on YouTube. You can go to youtube.com/Santa Claus Says, and you can always find me at SantaClausSays.net, and that's where the podcast is at. And that is also, you can also find me on Apple Podcast, on all the other podcast applications that you can do. We got a couple of special shows coming up before too long on Christmas. Every day we read a Christmas story, but the most special, two of the special stories that we read are coming up on Christmas Eve when we read The Night Before Christmas. We do that on December 24th. Then on December 25th, Christmas Day, we read from the Bible the story of the first Christmas, which is all about the birth of Jesus, which was the best Christmas day ever. So I hope that you'll join me every day here between now and Christmas for SantaClausSays.net. And until then, Santa Claus loves you, cares for you, and hears you, and listens to you. And Santa Claus says, be good for goodness sakes.
You're special to Santa Claus, just like sprinkles. Get on Santa's nice list at SantaClausSays.net and watch Santa Claus Says live on YouTube. Tell him Sprinkles sent you.